Good morning, everybody. It's your boy D Mack. Yeah, I'm in here burning that late night oil, man. Um, I just had to talk about this for a second because this came across my wavelengths uh, the other day, but I really didn't speak on it quite yet. I did speak about Nia Long in a couple of different areas, not really anything major, but my whole question was, you know, everybody was like, "Oh wow, Ime Udoka, he cheated on Nia Long." I was like, "Okay, but yeah, I understand, but why is that such a big deal? Famous people get cheated on every day. You show me a famous person, I'll show you somebody who's tired of them. Show me a beautiful person, I'll show you somebody who's tired of them." And so, that's all I really spoke on it. But now we've come to a point to where we have people who are starting to give their opinions on it in the sports analyst world, and it's starting to cause a lot of friction because of the fact of we have some people who are being sympathizers to the female party and putting Ime Udoka on blast. And so they're saying that there's not a balance of accountability in this matter, which I can agree with to a certain extent. You know, Stephen A. He definitely gave the perspective to Malika Andrews. Malika Andrews was one of those sports analysts that I'm referring to, and she was on the show with Stephen A. And they were talking about this, and she was like, her whole energy was wrong. First and foremost, she came in with that "I'm going to tell you about yourself and check you" type energy, and Stephen A. let her talk her point through, and then he came in and he just totally dismantled her whole logic with actual good points and facts that need to be answered. And I can see in the sense that, yeah, that's true that one party is being held more accountable, which is Ime Udoka. But at the same time, he's probably in a much larger role. And with much power comes much responsibility and much more accountability. So, as to where he's reprimanded and rebuked and scolded in the public eye, that other person who how do we know that they're not being rebuked and scolded in the private sector? Because we're at this point, like they said, everybody is speculating as to who that other party is in the situation. And so for them to keep that person covered like that, that insinuates to me that it could possibly be somebody who's in such a high position that it would definitely do damage to the reputation of the organization and people in high places in that organization. And those people are always going to be protected to a certain extent because they are your owners and your general managers and stuff like that. And you don't want the scandal to be any worse than what it already is. This guy has already shown that he has the potential to pull high quality females. He dating me alone. So there's something in his game that permits him to be able to pull high quality women. And so we don't know who that person is, and they're not going to let us know who that person is because maybe, just maybe, the person is in such a high position, or they're the mate or significant other of somebody in such a high position that it would definitely cause for some changes to be made as far as staffing and as far as Ime Udoka. They already suspended him for a year and said it's more likely indefinite. So that lets you know that there's somebody in a high position that they're not doing this mainly to just because it's the right thing to do. It's because he was messing with the wrong person. And that's what a lot of this comes down to. And so, alluding to not pointing fingers or anything like that, which is the narrative that Malika Andrews came with, is that really fair? Because now, uh, given that variable, the tables could be turned on what I said earlier. You know, with great power comes great responsibility. And so if that person, that woman is, related to someone in a high position, then, that's an internal problem that definitely needs to be dealt with. Fraternization, this is nothing that's uncommon. It happens all the time. People have affairs all the time, mess around with people at work. It happens all the time. It's just that this is on a much larger stage. And when you have branding involved as to where scandals and things that would tarnish the reputation of that organization is taking place, well, see, now that's where you have the motivation for the harsh punishments on one side and not on the other. And then again, we don't know um, who that person is, and we don't know the logic behind that. So I say just leave that conversation alone until further information is given or somebody comes out and speaks on behalf of the other side. There's often times where the only problem in a situation is accountability. The only thing that's tipping the scale is accountability. And I also feel that, a lot of times they will play the gender card, the gender equality card, only when there's something to be gained. But when it comes to accountability for something that is not accepted, then that gender equality flag goes away. It gets folded up and tucked in the drawer somewhere. And I don't think that's fair. If you're going to preach gender equality, then that has to be all inclusive of everything. You know, that's just fair. That's just fair. Um, but yeah, man. So whoever this female is, yo, she got probably more problems to deal with than Ime Adoka do. We never know what's going on behind these scenes. We don't know anything. We don't know anything. And so for people to be arguing, for Malika Andrews to have this venom in her voice when she's talking about this subject, that lets me know that she's got her defenses up. She's angry because she feels as though somebody's attacking this female and trying to place the blame on the female and take the blame off of the male, which is absolutely not the case. Everybody know he fucked up. Come on. Same as Tiger Woods. We're not gonna give you no benefit of the doubt after you done just showed your ass. That's one thing about us as black people. We'll protect you to a certain extent. We'll cover you until you recover and get back to your senses if it's a one-time thing. But if you keep on doing the same thing, nah, we're gonna let you go ahead and do your thing. We did it with OJ. We about to do it with Mystical, and we'll definitely do it with anybody else. So, that right there is off the table. That whole narrative doesn't even count in this scenario that we're talking about. So, Ime Udoka, he's not the first or the last to cheat on their famous girlfriend. I promise you. I promise you he's not. But how many of them are going to be advertised like this? How many athletes have dated famous people and had an affair and broke up or got a divorce? Wow. So why is this one so significant? Somebody tell me that again. Why is this one so significant? It's because the person on the other side that's involved, that they don't want to release their identity as somebody major, somebody big, somebody so big that it became an actual story. And people want to make it seem like the story is about him cheating on Nia Long, but actually, no, Nia Long is just the scapegoat in this because they want to take all of the attention away from who is the one that he cheated with. But see, now that everybody's gotten over the initial hoopla of Nia Long being cheated on, now the other questions are starting to come in, because you know how something is when it's hot off the press. Oh snap! He cheated on Nia Long. Boy, crazy! You remember whenever J. Cole was talking about Nia Long in the song? All of that is going to be afforded to Nia Long in the beginning. But then whenever that calms down and everybody starts to think about the rest, because there's going to be more questions, no doubt, that come along. Now the question is, well, who is this person that would make somebody want to stray away from me alone? Who is this person that he sees that gets his boat going like that? You know what I'm saying? And that's where we are. And so now the defense of this person is a telltale sign that it is somebody in a high position, or somebody that's the significant other in a high position. So man, I'm ready to see how this unfolds. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate on anything. I'm just going to go by the information they're giving to me. And like I always say, I'm going to chew up the meat, spit out the bones, because that's what it's going to come down to with this story. The same as the story with Dale Curry and his wife. Whenever the story came out that they were splitting up, everybody automatically assumed that it was Dale Curry that it, caused that. And then come to find out that his wife was cheating around. And yo, we can't always judge a book by its cover. Now, I'm pretty sure throughout the years, Dale's done his dirt. Wow, that's Dale's done his dirt. That's funny. That's what's they call that, alliteration or something like that. But yeah, Dale's done his dirt over all these years, man, and who knows what goes on behind their closed doors. Maybe she was feeling unappreciated and neglected, and somebody came along, and next thing you know, hey, toes in the air. But that happens sometimes on both sides of the aisle, and people have these unrealistic expectations, thinking that there's nobody out there that can cause your lady or your man to turn away, or to turn an eye away from you. Some people have it made up in their mind that they are the only person that their mate is going to be attracted to, and that's totally unreal expectation. I know good and damn well that when my wife go out here in this world, she sees some dudes that look better than me, and she be like, "Dang," you know what I'm saying? That's human nature. And then same thing on the flip side. But the thing is, you don't act on, what you see before you, because what you have and what you've invested in is far more valuable than what you see before you on the surface level. So that's just learning and growing in life. And that's easy to say when you're in certain positions. But when you're in a high position such as Ime Udoka, let me get his name correct. When you're in a position like that and you come across exceptional people on a regular basis, you don't just come across the ordinary person in that field. You come across people who have excelled, who have been promoted, who have been recommended and voted into, and all of these things. People who have come with high references of praise. And so these are very exceptional people. And when you sit down and you start talking to these people and you see how exceptional they are, and they really show an interest in you, it's easy for things to go left. You know, these basketball players, they go through it all day, every day. What's the dude for the Charlotte Hornets who got caught up in the jam with the IG model? You know, Matt Barnes is pretty much famous for driving across country to whoop the coach ass over a female. Steven Jackson, he say he left female at the altar, you know. So all of these guys have the propensity for those types of things. And I'm just saying, man, you have to be mindful of what you're doing out in the world when it comes to relationships and stuff like that, because your mismanagement of relationships and your abuse of trust is definitely going to affect how they perceive him in his job. You know, so especially if you're messing with somebody on the job, and somebody that you definitely shouldn't be messing with, even outside. Let's take the fact off of the table that you're in a relationship. Even if he was single, there's certain people in that organization that he should not be trying to holler at. You know, there's certain people that are off limits, regardless of whether you're single or you're involved with somebody. And so understanding that is just adding to the variable and adding to the theory that I'm posing. I like to put those theories out there, because until the whole story unfolds, we're not going to know what it is anyway. We're not going to know what the whole story and what the truth is. So we'll just sit back with some patience and wait for it to unfold. But I'm not going to draw. I'm not going to contribute to the wedge that is being further knocked and pounded in between men and women in the sports world. I saw with the interaction between Malika Andrews and Big Perk, it was pretty much the same thing, because he echoed the same thing that Stephen A. echoed, but she doubled down on her response. And so that means, even though the facts were given to her, and even though it was explained to her and articulated to where she could very well understand the point, she still just dismissed the point and stuck with, oh, you're attacking the female. And so I don't know, man. We're going to have to come to some consensus to where we're going to be honest all the way across the board, and we're going to blame everybody involved according to their level of involvement, not based on their position, and not based on their gender or anything like that. It should solely be on the actions of the people. But all of these other politics that are added into it is what caused the distrust. Because I absolutely 100% know that now there's a whole bunch of people who are not trusting each other in that organization right now. There's a whole lot of people who are looking sideways at each other in that organization. It's caused the upheaval, and we're going to see it play out whenever the season starts. Man, there's a lot that's going on right now, and a lot that's being revealed to us. We have to keep our eyes open and understand what's taking place right before our very eyes. People are being exposed for their true nature right before our very eyes in real time. You know, it's far too risky to be a public figure and try to get out here and do things undetected. There's always someone watching. There's always cameras on. There's always phones out anytime and every time. And so you just have to be more mindful of that stuff. But we'll continue this cycle because this is what mankind does. We'll continue to think that we're able to outsmart the world and we're able to stay so low key that we'll never be figured out, never taking into consideration that the person that we're sneaking with is going to put us on blast because we're going to fall out at some point. We're going to continue to go through that cycle, even though we know that, even though we've seen it time and time again. We're always going to think, well, I'm that one that it's not going to happen to. And ultimately, we find out that that is not the case. So, just saying, if you're going to be an athlete and you're going to be out here being unfaithful to your significant other and you're going to be running around and doing your thing, be ready to accept the consequences for your actions. And if you're messing with somebody in a position that's out of your pay grade, be ready to be the scapegoat for everything that comes down the pipeline. Just know that, because that is what's happening to Ime Udoka. Now, he may have just lost his girlfriend in Nia Long, lost his job, and everything because of what? It ain't because he was messing with one of the physical trainers. It ain't because he was messing with one of the athletic trainers. I guarantee you that. It ain't because he was messing with one of the concession stand workers. I guarantee you that. It ain't because he was messing with one of the secretaries. I promise you it wasn't that. The person that he was messing with was somebody that could really bring some damage to the image of that organization, even more so than what he's already done. And they're going to protect that person and deal with them behind the scenes, but they're going to make him the absolute scapegoat. And they told him the only way that he can keep his job is if he accept being the scapegoat. That's why he haven't came out and said anything. Do you notice that? He haven't came out and revealed who that person is. Now, if they did him so wrong and did him so dirty, and he would be angry and he would be highly motivated to put it out there who that other party is. But he's not, because that was the deal that was more than likely laid out on the table for him. You keep your mouth shut. Matter of fact, sign this NDA and you keep your job. You're going to be suspended for this amount of time because we can't just let you still be bouncing around here after what you did. We got to let some time lapse before that person can even stand to even be around you or even see your face. So you're going to have to take this lick right here. We'll keep you in the balance and we'll let you know, because this is just something that we can't just sweep under the rug and overlook because of the potential backlash that it could bring. So this is the level that I'm thinking on. I'm not thinking on the level of somebody that's a co-worker, so to speak. I'm thinking of somebody who's a boss, or like I said, the significant other of a boss. Man, sucks to be you, Ime, but that's the risk that you was willing to take to get your gratification. So I hope your gratification was worth it. because it would be terrible, man, for you to risk all of this for something that wasn't even all of that. Really, bro, you lost me alone, dog. That's hard. Oh, you gonna get clowned for a while. So I hope it was really worth it. And if it ever comes out, I would definitely be interested in seeing the person that you felt was worth it. And that brings up another subject, man, that we as men, do we really like think it through whenever we downgrade or mess with somebody beneath the level of quality that we have at home? Because oftentimes that be the case, right? A lot of the little side chicks don't be as accomplished as who you with, who your main girl is. They don't. And not to say that that's always the case, but most often than not, that is the case, and that's the way that it's designed. Because if you have a side chick that's at the same level as your main chick, then that means more that you're gonna be have to be coming out of pocket with in order to maintain that relationship with them. And so, but that's just on a financial tip. You may have somebody who's financially stable herself and she don't have to worry about that. But if you have a side chick that is not on that level, equivalent or better, then what are you really doing? You know, you're really risking it all for something that's not going to be better for you, for something that you're going to have to count as a liability as opposed to as being an asset. But we're willing to do this at times, and sometimes we can blame it on the liquor. Sometimes we blame it on drugs. Sometimes we blame it on uh, anything, stress, uh, weakness, whatever we come up with in the moment to satisfy our mates. You know, that's what we'll use as an excuse as to why we would jeopardize everything for something of lesser value, I should say. And that's a fucked up way to put it, but that's what it is. If you're dealing with somebody who does not bring to the table what your mate is bringing to the table, then you're dealing with somebody of lesser value. So, yeah, yeah, that's hard, but we do it quite often. And if we really stopped and thought about the ramifications and the possible consequences of that, a lot of us would stop, and a lot of us would just keep on going. Because I know it's been many times that I have thought about that, and I was like, "Well, fuck it, I'm just gonna have to take that then," because I was just in my flesh and doing what I wanted to do. But that's how life goes sometimes, and people try to make it seem like they're able to overcome their wants and desires, and they won't tell those stories of where their wants and desires overtook them. You know, but I have to be fully honest about that, because in order for me to stay mindful of the things that could possibly come in and distract me and take my attention away from what I'm focused on, I have to be able to tell these types of stories. I have to be able to remind myself of that stuff. So, yeah, I'm willing to put myself out there. And oftentimes, like I said, I talk about myself a lot. That is a narcissistic trait, but it's also me trying to, if I talk about myself, I can't offend nobody. I can't offend myself if I'm telling the truth. And so I use myself as the subject of the topic just so won't nobody be offended or feel like I'm directing anything towards them. And so a lot of times whenever I give points and scenarios to tell a story, it's going to be on me for that simple reason and that simple reason alone. Because I understand that people are easily offended in these last days. I was commenting on something on a post on YouTube, and a person came in. Oh, it was about the whole Tiffany Haddish and Ari Spears situation, and so my comment was, the comedy world let me down or disappointed me by how they turned on Ari Spears, but and threw him under the bus while at the same time trying to pull Tiffany Haddish out from in front of the bus. And so this person came on and he was like, okay, so what you're saying is that you don't have a problem with someone using your child in a in a pedophile video. I was like, well, I didn't say anything like that, not even remotely. So why would you try to project what you feel into my statement, which contained nothing, nowhere near that message? These are the type of people that you deal with. And you know, he was trolling, but the form of trolling that he was doing was very interesting to me because I've seen this before and I've learned how to deal with this. They will come in and they will accuse you of something so outlandish that you spend your time trying to debunk the claim that they've made against you, and you stray far away from what the attention really needs to be on in your message. It's pretty clever, and I caught on to it a while ago, and now whenever they come in and they start to ask these questions and they start to make these inflammatory statements and declarations, I understand that it is important, very pertinent, for me to keep them on subject, to keep them on the topic, because if I don't, then they'll allow the whole conversation to stray away from my topic, and that is their goal in the first place. And so they'll get frustrated with me and they'll continue to make the statements more and more outlandish. And if that doesn't work, then they'll start to try to insult me personally. And then when that don't work and they figure out that I know what they're doing, then they'll go away and I'll have no more responses from them. And so that is fun for me. That is an exercise in awareness. That is an exercise in discernment. And it's just pretty fun to see them be defeated in the way that they get defeated. And that's just what I do. So that's why I say I don't have no problem with trolls, and I don't have a problem with people calling themselves trying to bomb my videos or whatever. I care less. I'm not monetized. I'm not getting my page monetized just to, well, not just to, but that's just one other way that they won't be able to uh, come at me crazy, because they love to try to come in and get your page demonetized or get your page shut down. And so I just kind of protect all avenues on that. Told you, on the old dog of this shit. I hear in these YouTube streets, and I'm a loose cannon, but I'm starting to wise up. You know, I'm getting a little bit older, and I'm starting to learn the game a little bit better. So that's how I roam these YouTube streets. But Malika Andrews, I understand that that you are brought in to bring the female perspective. We respect that. Love that 100%. That gives us a sense of balance. But to be a sympathizer based on, and you even said it yourself, they had a independent lawyer to come in and investigate this, and the independent lawyers made the judgment that Ime Doku was to deal with the consequences that he had, and the other party was not going to receive any consequences. Who do you think? Who do you think has influence over those independent lawyers? Who do you think can bribe those independent lawyers? Who do you think can put pressure on those independent lawyers to come back with whatever statement they need in order to keep this covered up and hidden? I'm just saying, I'm keeping my mind open to the possibilities. And then I'm going to repeat once again, why is this such a big deal? If this is someone who's not in a high position or anything like that, why is this being blown up so huge? Why? That's my question. And then, like they said, this is being blown up so big and being given so much coverage as opposed to Brett Favre barely receiving any coverage. And the only coverage that is getting is from black analysts who are showing the comparison of how they're not putting much energy into exposing Brett Favre for stealing $5 million. They're not putting any energy into that. Why? Why is all of this energy being placed into something that is very common and that we are so desensitized to? Like, we really care that this man is having an affair. Do we really? We don't care like that. We don't even care about people losing life. Why do we care about people having an affair? Like that's just our breaking point. That just turns our stomach, and we just can't tolerate any of that. But we can tolerate seeing people being murdered on a regular basis. And miss me with all of that bullshit. The person that they are hiding and protecting is in that same category as the people that are being protected from that little black book that Jeffrey Epstein has. Those level of people are protected at any cost, at the detriment of a coach or anybody else who want to put themselves in that position by messing with somebody who has that much to lose. And believe me, they are not going to risk everything that they have for that person, because if they were having an affair and this other alleged person, this other unidentified person, if they really cared about that guy, then they would put it out there. You know, if they really wanted to set the story straight, then they would put it out there. So why hasn't this person come forward and accepted responsibility instead of sitting back, staying quiet, and allowing the man that she's been laying up in the bed with to take all the responsibility? Answer that question for me. I think it's somebody in a very high position. I think it's something that could really, really set this organization back. I mean, like losing endorsements, losing investors. I mean, all of that stuff. So that's where my position is. I'm gonna stand on that position right there, and we'll see. We'll see what's gonna happen. We'll see if that person is going to come out and stand up, or if they're just going to keep it like it is. And I promise you on everything, if they end up firing that coach, unless he signed a long duration NDA concerning this matter. If they end up letting him go and getting a new coach, he gonna let it out after he's done and after all liability has been done away with. He gonna come out with it then. But by that time, what's it gonna matter? Who's it gonna matter to? Nobody. It may matter to the people involved, but it won't matter to any sports fans. You know how short the attention span of people are nowadays. They get onto a story, they blow it up, blow it out of proportion, have their selective outrage, and then it's on to the next story. They're not going to stay on this long enough for the whole thing to play out before they actually just let it go and move on to the next thing. Watch. Next week is going to be somebody else and something else. Somebody, a sports figure somewhere is going to do something, or they've already done something, and somebody right now, as I speak, is digging for information. They're doing research and they're getting all of their leads and all of their sources together so that they can put this story out. And that's going to be the next hot button issue. And we're not even going to be thinking about Ime Udoka or Nia Long or anybody else no more. Because this next story is going to be bigger and juicier and people's ears are going to be itching. That's been the pattern, right? That's how it's been going for the longest, right? You know it. I know it. Everybody else knows it. So I'm just chilling. I said it's almost 4 a.m. Um, I don't know. I go to sleep whenever. But I just feel like talking for a little while tonight. It's quiet. Everybody's sleeping. Everything is still. I love when it gets to that part of the night to where everything in the house is still. Everything outside is still. You may hear a car every 20, 30 minutes or so, but everything is overall still and just peaceful. And if anything moves, then it's going to be amplified 1,000 times. I like this part of the night. This is the night where I'm at my peak. And you know, when I sit around it like this is when you have opportunities to create. This is when you have opportunities to brainstorm. So that whole Malika Andrews story, I could have saved it till 7 a.m., but it was fresh on my mind and I wanted to be able to put it out there in the way that I was thinking about it in the moment, not wait till in the morning, because in the morning then I would have a different energy. I would have probably a whole different perspective, and it wouldn't have been this original thought. And I like my original thoughts. I don't like to feel like uh, repeating somebody else's thoughts. I really hate that. Even though there's nothing wrong with agreeing with somebody, I can have the same perception as somebody else. There's a lot of people out there who agree on a lot of things, just not everything. So, like a lot of times, something that I really hate is that, like I say, I'm an analytical person, and so if I have two people here and they're both presenting their argument and they're both giving good points, good solid points as to why they feel the way they do, and I'm able to see both of their points, and I say, well, I see your point and you make a good point and you make a good argument of what you're saying, but I also see this point as well. You just straddling the fence. Why do y'all do that? That really pisses me off right there. And that's why whenever two people get in an argument, I let them argue it out. Don't stick me in the middle of your argument and try to get me to co-sign your shit so that you can have the leverage in the argument. Don't do that to me. Do not do that to me. Because I'm not going to say nothing. I'm going to sit there and I'm going to act like you're not even talking to me. Act like I'm not here. If you get in an argument over something, act like I'm not here. Don't try to drag me into it unless I was a witness to something. So, that's really my only request in situations like that. Unless I was a witness to something that I can verify, do not drag me into those one-on-one conversations. It's one-on-one, not two-on-one. Well, that's all I really got to say, man. It's getting late. It's about to hit 4 a.m. I guess I'll go in here and close my eyes for a little bit. But I'll be back up in a few hours and just check around the YouTube streets and see what's going on early in the morning. Until then, hey, y'all be blessed, man. Y'all have a beautiful week. It's your boy D-Mack, man. Y'all know what I say. Sticks and stones can break your bones, but the word can always heal you. I'm out.